This week's skill of the week comes from DBT, Dialectical Behavior Therapy. DBT gives everyone tools and how they can make sure that they're in control of their mind and also in control of their emotions so that they're making the best decisions for themselves. This week, we're going to talk about a tool that comes from mindfulness. The first skill in mindfulness is observe, and the idea is to bring yourself into the present moment. So much suffering happens when we aren't in the present moment. We're suffering because we're worried about something that might happen in the future. So maybe we're worried dinner's going to go horribly tonight. There's no way that he's going to eat this. Or what is my parent going to make me eat? Suffering also comes when we're spending too much time in the past, when we're remembering something cruel that someone said to us, or we're replaying in our mind a conversation that we just had that we wish we would have handled better. In order to stop suffering, we need to bring ourselves into the present moment. We need to take control of our brains. And that's really hard to do. So the first skill to help you get there, the skill we're going to talk about today, is observe. Observe the present moment. One of the easiest ways to do this is to really tune in to one of your 5 senses. My favorite way to come into the present moment is by observing sounds. My mind might be going on and on and on about how much I have to do and how stressed I am and how I forgot to do X, Y, and Z. And to calm my brain and to bring myself into the present moment, I decide to just be very quiet and try hear what I can hear. Today, I've invited Maris and JD to talk about the skill observe and how they've used it when they were helping their child through an eating disorder or helping themselves through an eating disorder. Let's start with Maris. Maris, how have you used observe, or how did you use it when you were working on your recovery?
Something that was really helpful for me in the practice of mindfulness was observing the breath. And it was interesting because it was something I'd never paid attention to before. And then when I did start observing it, it really makes you be present. And you can be really curious with it rather than judgmental. Because I noticed at first I was like, oh, it's too fast or it's not deep enough. And instead I had to really be with where I was and notice, oh, it's a little slow, or oh, I noticed like I'm not inhaling as deep as I could. And that really helped me be exactly where I was.
That's fantastic. And I love that you brought up how hard it is to be non-judgmental when observing, but the idea is really to just observe and even try to not put words to it. It's a great example. What about JD? How have you used observe when you were trying to help Kinsey through her eating disorder?
So observe was a really important skill for me when things were really fraught, and particularly during meal supervision, when you start to lose your patience, things are going on for a long time, that sort of thing. So it was helpful to me just as we're sitting there to observe things in my room. And for me, plants and greenery, that's a really huge thing. So focusing on a plant, and maybe also in line with what Mara said, with maybe also some breath work while doing that.
That's such a good reminder of so much of what's stressful about a meal is actually what's happening in our heads more than what's actually happening in the moment. And love that you use that during mealtime to to keep you from saying, fine, don't eat it.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. To enable you to stay there and then not get into the cycle of then their distress feeding off your distress and then it just ramping up from there.
Fantastic. Remember, mindfulness skills aren't something that can just appear overnight. You have to practice them again and again, day after day. And also practice them on things that aren't as stressful as an eating disorder. Practice them when you're stuck in traffic. Practice when you are on hold with the phone company.